It is about that time to check in now that we are right about the halfway point throughout 2025. Even though it feels like this year, even though it feels like the last 6 months have been about 6 years long. I've read some books, I've watched some movies, I've played some video games. So let's talk about what is topping my personal favorites list right now. For any of these categories, some of these categories, one of these categories, I would love to hear your lists in the comments. So let's start with games. In the number 5 spot is A Quiet Place: The Road Home. This game was stressful as fuck, and I played not on the hardest mode. It was a full 5 streams of stealth mode, which was crazy and insanity inducing, and by the end I was dying so much. Like, I know this could have been like a 3 stream game. I could have finished this faster and it ended up being 5. But I have to admit, the world makes for a compelling place to set a game and to see how you would fare. That's like the natural conversation you have after seeing those movies. So being able to play in that world was definitely fun, definitely scary. I was on edge the entire time. Then I have Limbo in the number 4 spot on my list. This was suggested for me to play by Spooky Astronauts. It was a really unique platformer that kind of requires you to die to see how some of the puzzles actually work, which is a really fun gameplay mechanic, and it makes you feel a little less bad about dying so much. And I love that kind of game because I usually die quite a lot. And then as the game goes on, the platform levels get a lot more unique. They start messing with gravity, go in all sorts of directions on the screen, and it was a really unique premise for a game. Really simple story, but with like an underlying, very creepy kind of thing going on. Definitely suggest this one if you like maybe slightly shorter games that don't have like a whole lot of story going on, but are still on the creepy end of things. And number 3 on my list is The Children of Silent Town, which is a beautifully animated and sad story about a town that doesn't allow music because of monsters that live in the surrounding woods. The puzzles were really cool and creative, and the story was so gorgeous. It is essentially about like the horror of conformity and keeping your true self repressed and your individuality repressed. I highly recommend this one. I thought it was a beautiful game. Creepy, but like quite calm. I would say it's like definitely like a creepy, cozy game. In second place right now is Fear the Spotlight, which I literally played this month. It's a retro style game about 2 girls who break into their school after hours to play with a Ouija board when they accidentally awaken some angry spirits from the past. It's a really cool and sapphic story. You play first as one of the girls, and then you go through this entire story. You learn the backstory of the school that's kind of related to what happened when you played with the Ouija board. And then after you survive that, you unlock the second story, which is from the other character's point of view, which I thought was a really cool concept for a game. Really creepy, not terribly hard gameplay. I would highly recommend this one. I think it's a super unique horror game. And the favorite of the year so far is South of Midnight, and I kind of knew this already from the first moment I opened this game. I was way excited for it when I heard about it. I had been excited about it for at least a year. So this is a Southern Gothic story about Hazel, who is tracking her lost mother after a hurricane, and she learns about the magic she possesses from her family line. This is a gorgeous game. If you love Southern Gothic vibes, if you love folklore, if you love legends and tales and the way trauma manifests itself in the natural world, which is kind of what the magic in this story is based on. So beautiful, every second of this game. I honestly can't wait to play it again and play it many times because it was just that good. I do have a gaming channel where I upload my past Twitch streams when they come off of the Twitch platform, because they're only on there for a couple of they're only on there for a short time. So you can check it out to see me play the games I mentioned on this list. I also stream live horror and horror adjacent games every Wednesday and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. If anyone's interested to come hang out, have a fun chill time, and watch me be mediocre at video games. All right, now for the books. This is right now a mixture of backlist and frontlist titles. Number 5 for me right now is Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. The story follows a family that is torn apart by a news channel that brainwashes anyone who watches for too long. Sound familiar to anybody? This definitely hits very close to home if your extended family has to set rules about talking politics at the Thanksgiving dinner table. But reading a hyperbolized version of it that's not even really that exaggerated was kind of cathartic to read in the way that only the horror genre can achieve, really. I listened to this one on audiobook, and I would highly recommend reading this as an audiobook. There's some cool moments in the book that hit harder when you're listening to it, as kind of like TV and videos online and things like that are the basis of this book. In the number 4 spot for me is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is a sapphic meet cute gone horribly, disgustingly wrong, but very cottagecore vibes. It's got some good for her moments. It's got some like make you sick to your stomach a little bit moments, especially the twist at the end. I read this one in one sitting. It's quite short, under 200 pages, but it flew by in the best way. Like it shows up to tell you a story, it tells you that story, and yeah, I had a great time reading it, even if I kind of wanted to barf at it certain points. And because this one is a quicker read, this would make a great addition to any Pride reading list you might have. There's definitely time to finish this book before June is over, or just read it any time of year, really. If you've got a weak stomach though, read with caution. At number 3 is A Dark and Drowning Tide, which is a super creepy dark academia fantasy novel about a team of university students on an expedition to find a well of immense power. And of course, it's sapphic. Another academic rivals to lover type vibe, which was the vibe of one of my favorite books I read last year in Education and Malice. And I'm finding that that's like my favorite type of sapphic book, is academic rivals to lovers. There's just something about it. I don't know. I really like it. I don't know what that says about me. This one was another quick read. I don't know if it's intended to be a series. It definitely could go on. Not super heavy fantasy either. So if maybe you're thinking about getting into the fantasy genre, or you haven't read much in the fantasy genre, I wouldn't label this as high fantasy. Like, it's not super complicated. Coming in at number 2 is Lucy Undying by Kirsten White. A sapphic, oh my god, shocker, spin-off tale from the Dracula world. In this story, Lucy Westenra survived as a vampire and is still trying to find Dracula and destroy him. She runs into a mysterious woman that is living in her old house, and they try and defeat their demons together. This was like super duper freaking gay from start to finish, and I loved every second of it. Like, I gotta say, I love a sapphic story where it's like from the get-go, it's like sapphic. It's just throwing it at you. I kind of really appreciate that. And the best book I've read so far this year is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim, which was our May book for Creepy Book Club. I do this every single time, but if you didn't know, I have a book club and we read one horror book or horror adjacent book per month of the diverse variety. So you can find us on the Storygraph app. The link is in the description always. But this book was incredible. The story follows Jiwon, a college student whose family is going through some changes, while Jiwon is struggling to tamper down a sudden desire to eat the eyes of men. Without spoiling it too much, this has one of the best good for her endings that I've ever read. I can't recommend this enough. If you're angry at the world right now, I feel like this book is Definitely a primal scream. I always see that a lot in book blurbs, and it's like one of those things that I feel like it kind of doesn't like mean anything to me really when I read it, but I got it when I read this book. I'm like, oh, so when people are like, this is a primal scream of a novel, I get it now. This one is the primal scream. I can't recommend this one enough. Read it, just read it. And that just leaves the movies. Coming in at number 5 is Final Destination Bloodlines. This was such a surprisingly fun addition to the franchise. Not that I thought that it was gonna suck, but I feel like there's always an apprehension when going into sequels or remakes. It's natural. You know, it's semi-familiar territory, but you don't know if the filmmakers are going to butcher it until you go and see it. But this was a great movie with some fun kills that hold their own compared to the rest of the franchise. At number 4 is Bring Her Back. What an absolutely gut-wrenching movie. I'm so gobsmacked. Like every time the Filippo brothers make a movie about like grief and they're asked like, well, what inspired you to make this? They talk about like a friend or a family member that went through something. The level of empathy to make something like this because of something somebody else that you just happen to know went through. Damn. To express the desperation to do anything to bring someone back from the dead in this way, like I sobbed. I sobbed in the movie theater watching this, and it was amazing. In 3rd place is Death of a Unicorn. I know that sounds crazy, being above Bring Her Back. I will just remind everybody that it's still the middle of the year. Things might move around, and I have an explanation for this. I fear that I'm gonna have to like explain myself for this one a lot. But this just happened to be like just the movie I needed to see after my dog Daisy passed. Like I was sad as fuck, and this was the perfect goofy but hyper violent movie that satisfied my need to laugh and the need to see everything destroyed. Would love to see more like kind of like horror, other genre crossover, like swing for the fences type movies like this one, because knocked it out of the park. It was so much fun, and it's gonna be one of those movies now that just I have a nice connection to because it was just there when I needed it. Everybody has those kinds of movies, and this is now just another one of those movies for me. And I love that about film. All right, and the number 2 spot is Companion. While the feminist content in the movie did kind of feel like 101, you know, very basic, scratching the surface, I do appreciate the unique way it was expressed. Plus, I just love seeing Sophie Thatcher go off the rails. Well, I just love seeing Sophie Thatcher. Her performance was incredible. Seeing her go from absolutely nothing to 200% in a split second was kind of scary, not gonna lie. Also amazing, and just worked so well. Like I couldn't take my eyes off of her the entire movie. And that leaves, you probably guessed it already, Sinners as the number 1 movie of the year for me. At present, I don't think anything is going to top this one. Obviously that remains to be seen, and I keep an open mind, but right now it's hard to imagine anything beating that experience of seeing that in the cinema. This is not only one of the best pieces of like vampire media that I've ever seen. It's just gone down in cinema history, I think, is one of the best movie experiences ever. Just in general. Like, they had to bring it back to IMAX because of audience demand. That's amazing. Like, how many times does that happen? That doesn't happen that often. And just like a lot of you guys out there, because I've talked with you like in the comments or in Discord or in other places, like we're still thinking about this movie. We're still listening to the soundtrack of this movie. Like it's still living in our heads rent free, and nobody minds. Nobody minds. It's just gonna resurge in everybody's mind again as soon as it hits DVD. I think this is also going to, I'm anticipating it breaking some records for physical media sales as well, just based on how well it did in the cinema. And I can't wait to see that happen because the streaming services are gonna be like absolutely fucking quaking. Well, there you have it. Those are my favorites of the year so far. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I would love to hear what your favorites are so far in the comments, because I'd like to hear if I missed anything that I need to catch up on before the year is out. I will see you later this week with a new video, one where I get maybe unnecessarily a little angry filming it, but you'll see what it is. Until then, stay strange. Bye.